Since Scott Gimple has taken over as showrunner, The Walking Dead has continued to evolve and outdo itself with intense, emotionally driven episodes not seen since the very first season under show creator Frank Darabont. Well, Scott and company continue that trend with the season 6 mid-season opener, easily one of the best episodes they have ever done. A continually driving episode that stays tense and immediate from beginning to end and still manages to put you through the emotional arcs of fear, hope, horror, and joy, and everything in between. It's The Walking Dead, Season 6, Episode 9, No Way Out. Alright, spoilers ahead, so you've been warned. Now, like I was just saying, this is easily one of the best episodes the show has ever done. It is nonstop from beginning to end. It has everything and will have you cheering by the end of the episode. Just amazing. So I'm going to just try and hit a few points, a few questions. Everything else really in it is so good. I don't want to overly dwell on just what happens. And we'll just start it off with the very beginning sequence with the meeting of Negan's gang. They did a little sneak preview of this last at the end of the mid-season finale last year, and it brought up a few questions of like, why are these guys pulling all the way up to an armed gang and stopping the truck and getting out? It just didn't really seem like an intelligent choice to me. But looking over it and seeing how things went on, there is kind of a logic to it. I mean, in the sense, they are driving a fuel truck. You don't really want to draw fire in your direction when you have a truck full of gasoline right behind you. So pulling up and seeing what they are, that might have been the only choice. Also, the truth is, they're just that badass. They don't care. They will pull up and walk out and talk to you and know that they will be able to pull it out. Why? Because you've got Daryl, and Daryl has a frickin' RPG. It's RPG 7, Motorcycle Gang 0. Yes, I know there were 8, but remember, Daryl killed the one behind the truck. So the RPG only took out 7 of them. And that was great because it allows us a little insight into Negan's group without them becoming an immediate issue. There is so much more that they have to focus on right now. This just kind of gives a little taste of the crazy that they're going to have to walk into. They've already seen the wolves, and now you've got a whole nother group. So now we've got 2 groups out there that are going to be creating problems for the group to come. But at the moment, there are too many issues to go on, and like I said, they have an RPG which will settle most of these issues straight away. Now, of course, this episode does take place immediately after the mid-season finale from last year. And so we've got Carl and Michonne and Jesse and Rick and Sam and Ron and Father Gabriel and Judith covered in zombie guts and trying to move through the crowd. Now look, we all know Sam's not going to make it, but I have to give it up to him. He lasted a lot longer than I thought. I thought the zombies were going to come after him like at the very beginning, but they managed to get some distance, enough to a place where Rick can pull him off and say, all right, there's too many of them, we're not heading to the armory, we're going to head out and get some cars and come back. I don't know, I personally think stopping by the armory isn't a bad idea still if you're going to try and go that far. But that's the way it goes, it builds up tension, I understand that, but I still think that should have been getting armed in some sense would have been the best choice for right there. And trusting Father Gabriel to take Judith, I mean, he did step up a little bit at the end of last year during the lead up to the mid-season finale, is he did sort of step up a little bit more and start to demonstrate a willingness to get his hands dirty as it is. But with everything that has happened, that was kind of a big leap of faith for Rick to do, to agree to hand Judith over to him. One, I think Michonne checking in with him, are you sure, can you do this? And Father Gabriel's response, Rick trusts Michonne. So if she's checking in and she's starting to feel satisfied, that's going to mean a lot to him. But also, you know, there has been that change, and you can tell because it's that look in the eye of, this is what I'm going to do, you can trust me. And I think that little interchange was important and was great. One, it gets Judith out of the way for all of the horror that is to come, but it also starts to demonstrate the town coming together, which really is the focus of this entire episode, is the town coming together. One of the big problems that I did have, though, and it's a problem because it pulled me out, is the sudden darkness. They handed Father Gabriel off with Judith. Okay, we're going to head to there. And the next thing we see, I mean, there's a commercial break, but the next thing we see, it's dark, it's nighttime. And all that I'm thinking is, how far have they gone? I mean, that would seem to imply that they have been walking for hours. Now, it might have the sun might have been going down, but some line of, hey, it's going to be dark soon, or sun's coming down, we better get moving, would have at least kind of continued, at least would have sort of included. It wouldn't have been such a shock. But when they do the next shot and it's dark and they're moving through the town still, all I can think is how much time has passed. And it really just, for those precious moments, it really pulled me away from the reality of the episode. It kind of took me aback, and I just think that they could have worked that transition a little better. Obviously, the rest of the sequence between the fighting and the fire works really well at night. And then you can have the following dawn shot that they ended up having at the end of the episode. But it's because of that sudden change really was kind of a bit of a shock. And I would have appreciated at least some sort of knowledge, some sort of comment that there was a reason why it was about to get really dark really, really fast. And then, of course, the death of Sam and Jesse and Ron. You knew it was going to come. Sam was the mistake that they made was Sam should have gone with Father Gabriel. The minute that Jesse agreed that Sam could stay with her, that pretty much sealed their fate. The minute that he panicked, he was going to draw walkers to him. She wasn't going to let go because she's an overprotective mother. And then, of course, Ron's going to snap. And these were all kind of predictive outcomes, and it's exactly what happened. But man, was that intense, because was always here and coming up on the head and grabbing and just immediately surrounding it. Just a great, really lets you know what happens if you make that mistake when you're surrounded by so many walkers. It is just an invasion, and they just all come down. And that forces Rick to hack off Jesse's hand. Jesse is being attacked, is not going to let go of Carl, just as young Sam was not letting go of Jesse. Jesse, the same way, is not letting go of Carl, and that prompted Rick to cut off her hatchet, which angered Ron and caused Ron to come up and shoot, and that's what injured Carl. But yeah, just as kind of a heads up, towards the thumb. If you can't grab with anything. You have to have your thumb to do it. I want to be sure everything's you. So if you grab, roll towards the thumb. Okay, you can escape almost anything. Just break the thumb. Just, if you're ever in that situation, you don't have to wait for a hand to get hacked off. If you don't have a machete around, this is a much easier way to do it. All right, so Carl gets shot. Rick, obviously, now his priority has changed. It's the protection of his son. That has always been his focus since the very beginning. Grabs Carl, runs to the infirmary. Now, of course, Denise is already there, and we're going to go and hit all of the back in just a second, but these are the sequences that starts everything to turn around. He is able to come in, Carl's taken care of, Rick gets angry, heads out to take on all the walkers on his own, which is going to draw out Michonne, and then brings out Aaron and Heath and everybody else, and then as everybody starts watching them attack, that inspires everybody to come in. Especially Gabriel, man. Really just meant so much of this guy that was just... Look, I didn't like Father Gabriel. I'm going to say it right now. He was untrustworthy. He was a wuss. He was going to be getting people in trouble. But even he sees it, turns it around. We prayed for God to save this town, and he is, because God has given us the courage to save it ourselves. And that type of thing is really what, again, this is all about. That sequence just of everybody seeing and grabbing their hatchets and coming out. It was incredible. But what really predicated it? I mean, and this becomes interesting. This actually goes all the way back to Carol and Morgan and their argument about saving the wolf. For Morgan, all life is precious because there's always that possibility for change. Now, when Morgan knocks out Carol and then the wolf knocks out Morgan, takes Denise and runs out, that's all bad. But the interaction between Denise and the wolf really has an effect, I think, at a point, because they're talking about change between them back and forth, but I think the wolf does change at the end. I mean, he even says it to Denise later on. It was clear. The ladder was clear. He could have escaped, but he turned around and came back for her. Now, whether it was just some physical attraction or connectivity, it was something where he could not turn and let her go. Now, when Carol shoots him, he is still tells Denise to run and tackles a walker that's in her way. He even sacrificed his dying moments is to save Denise. And I think whenever you're dying, when your ticket is up and you've got 1 or 2 acts left to do before you're out of here, that's going to define your character. That is who you are. And I think that doing that and allowing Denise to survive, when she walked into the infirmary, she'd already had to, she was terrified before moving around the zombies and had to, calm herself down and get herself focused. Going through all of this with the wolf and knowing that she could survive it enabled her to push it all down. When she looked out and saw that it was Michonne and Rick was carrying Carl, and they were heading to the infirmary, going through all that allowed her to push it all down and turn and say, okay, you do this, you do this, you do this, and be able to open the door. So as Rick came up, everything was already prepped. She was already in a state of mind to do that and to take care of him, to take care of Carl. And that allowed Rick to summon all of his anger and emotion and go at him. Because she was calm and able to focus, that's what allowed Michonne to go out and help him out, which inspired everybody else to go out and continue the process. So, is Morgan right? In the sense of all life being precious because of that potentiality to change? It's an interesting question. Because on the other hand, when Sam went out, all he was hearing in his head was Carol's words, the original threats to him that if he said anything, what she was going to do, and walking through all of the walkers and seeing all of the decaying and creepiness going on around him, constantly seeing or hearing her words. They're going to be able to get you, they're going to eat you alive, and there's nothing you're going to be able to do. And then, of course, seeing the back of a little zombie child wandering through the streets was pretty much the final straw. And that, in a way, started the whole thing where Rick was able to turn around and, defend the town. Once Carl was hurt, that got him back to the infirmary. There was no more running around. They were just going to do it all straight on, hand to hand, doing it themselves. So in a way, Carol created the situation, and in a way, Morgan created the situation. And I think this might be an issue that they continue to hit back and forth. It's what's really interesting is it better to kill the people out of the way, or is there a value in saving them because there is a potential for change, and you never know how that change is going to benefit the rest of the group. At the end, when Rick is having his little conversation with Carl, it harkened me back to the conversation that Glenn had with Enid in the church. I didn't want you to give up on these people. I didn't want you to give up on this place. I didn't want you to be afraid. And in a way, he's almost talking to future Rick, because at the end sequence, when Rick is talking over Carl and explaining what has happened, how it was inspired, and that feeling that he couldn't even, it took him a while to recognize. I mean, that's hope. Rick is actually starting to get some hope in him right now. And it's because he couldn't give up on these people. These people showed him what it is that he needed to see, that people could come up and they could step up and they could be part of a community. And he didn't need to push everyone away. It wasn't just his group and everyone else. You could grow that and it become a better thing. What Deanna was talking about with the plans and everything else. Get people together, clue them in. They will be part of the group and they will be there for you. And that's really, I think, the overall statement of this episode. It's really the overcoming adversity, and the only way to do it is to fight together. And by the end of the episode, it's not Rick's group and the Alexandrians. At that point, they are all veterans. They have all fought and bled and survived an atrocious situation. And even Eugene has the great line of bringing everyone together is, no one gets to clock out today. And besides, this is probably one of those incidents that people will tell stories of afterwards. But that's a great thing, because Rosita was not very comfortable with Eugene coming out, and I think it was really Eugene stepping up. When people are in danger, he can step up. When Tara was in danger, he was able to step up and drag her out of the warehouse. And this is the same thing. No one gets to clock out today. Everybody has to contribute. Everybody has to be part of it. Oh, by the way, Glenn's the luckiest man on the planet. Jeez! The first attack for zombies able to hide underneath a dumpster until they leave and then get back out. Here they're surrounded by them, and that's exactly when Abraham and company show up. That's how Glenn survives. And really, Rick, you want to show Carl the new world? Is that like an eye joke because he just got one of his eyes blown out? Is that? I mean, that just sounded kind of wrong to me. So by episode's end, zombies are dead. The town has survived. Carl is conscious, and they are able to start to rebuild the wall, rebuild the town. So next week, I believe we are starting with the time jump. From the previews that were shown, Rick looks much better. Everybody's kind of healthy and dressed and clean. So I believe we've got pretty significant time jump in one form or the other between this episode and next. And the group needs some time to recover. You know, give them a little recovery time before the last of this season 7 episodes will, again, probably be pretty nonstop, much like the opening episodes for this season were. I mean, I guess if we look at it, from the opening of the season until this last episode, that's only been like 2 or 3 days. So that's a lot going on in a very short period of time. But we will find out next week when we come back here. Like, subscribe, comment, all these things. I really appreciate them, and it means a lot to me. I am D, and I'm going to see you guys next week. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.